What's going on, guys? My name is Zed and welcome to this video. Now, whether he is a flower shop keeper, a madman with a shrink ray, or a keymaster, we all love Rick Moranis. Now, with the recent talks of Disney rebooting the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids franchise, I decided to go back and watch all three of the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movies. Here's my reviews. Starting off with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. This is a classic, one that I watched quite a few times growing up, and to this day I still love it. With its blend of practical and special effects, it is such a piece of eye candy to behold. Rick Moranis plays a mad scientist who creates a shrink ray, and when he's on the verge of quitting on it, he discovers through a happy accident that the shrink ray actually works. And also his kids and the neighbor's kids are shrunken down and lost in his backyard. Okay, so along the way, the kids, while they're trying to venture back to home, they come across a lot of very peculiar creatures and find themselves in a lot of crazy situations. Now, I think this movie is great. I love Rick Moranis. I think he's such a great character actor. He's so weird and eccentric, and it's hard not to just love him. But the child actors are who shine in this movie. At first, you were kind of annoyed with the youngest neighbor kid, but soon you begin to grow on him as he grows on you, and it becomes a pretty good character. But overall, what is really amazing about the first Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is, again, its blend of special and practical effects. They built giant sets, they built giant props, they spent the time and did big puppets, and they did stop motion animation, and it's amazing. It's incredible to watch. I particularly love the scene, and it's so strange because it's a scene that's so out of nowhere, where a scorpion has to fight an ant. And it's amazing. So along the way, the kids meet this ant, and at first they're scared of him, but soon they find out that he's just a baby and he doesn't really know much, and he's probably more scared of them than they are of him. He becomes their personal chauffeur through the backyard. Well, after a much needed rest, a scorpion walks up on the kids' camp and starts wreaking havoc. And the ant fights back and unfortunately ends up perishing in the battle. Now, this scene is tough because you kind of grow to love this ant. He's adorable. He's just this sweet little baby ant who just really wants a piece of that cookie. And when he's fighting that crazy suburban scorpion, you fear for him. You wonder if he's going to make it out. And when he doesn't, and when the kids watch him die and say goodbye, it's a sad part of the movie. And then the giant blades of grass, the giant mud puddles, the massive Legos, just the massive cigarette butt flying around on a bumblebee. There's so many great images in this movie, and it's all matched around just a very eccentric lead guy, and I love the first Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and that's why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Next up, we move on to Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. Now, this one is okay. It's definitely a departure from what made the first one great, which is a lot of the child actors. You kind of take the child actors and make them teenagers now. Well, some of them were teenagers, but you take one of the original child actors, make him a teenager, give him a babysitter love interest, and center the whole movie around a new baby that we don't really know. Now, basically, Rick Moranis' character patents all of his shrink ray and giant ray, whatever, and the government owns it, and they're trying to do testing to, I don't know, make giant missiles. I don't know what they're doing. But he ends up blowing up his new child, who is like 2 years old, and makes him a giant baby. And he basically wreaks havoc on the streets of Las Vegas. And this movie really shines in its last half. Basically, the scene that really made the turning point for me is when Rick Moranis is dangling from a helicopter on top of a giant bunny, singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, trying to make his baby fall asleep. And then after that, the movie was just spectacular throughout the rest. And that's probably the last like 15 to 20 minutes. And the rest of the movie is just kind of, it's okay. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. It's definitely not the third movie. But I would say the turning point definitely is Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on a giant bunny. And then the rest of it with the whole Godzilla reference, the reference to the first movie. I absolutely love the line when Rick Moranis shrinks his wife and his baby back down to regular size, and they realize that the other two teenagers are still in the pocket, or were in the pocket, of the baby. So when the giant baby became a regular sized baby, that means the two regular sized people became shrunk. And I love when he just is like, where are the kids at? Where are the kids? Honey, I shrunk the kids. I love that. I thought that was a great callback to the original. I didn't see it coming, honestly. I just thought it was really funny, really cheeky. But again, the last 15-20 minutes of this movie are great, but the rest of it is mediocre, to say the best. So that's why I gave Honey, I Blew Up the Kid 2.5 stars. And then last but not least, well, definitely the least, we have Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, which is just not a good movie. It has really poor special effects. A majority of it is shot on a blue screen and lacks the giant sets, puppets, and what's the word? Props. The word is props. It lacks all the things that made the other two really great. Now, the sequel did use a lot of blue screen and perspective shots, but that's kind of what the movie needed. With this one, it needed, with the third movie, it needed those big sets, those big props, the big special effects or practical effects. That's what this movie needed. But it was a lot of big CGI cockroaches and daddy long legs and flying around in bubbles, and a very lackluster story that is kind of a rehash of the first one, but more of just like a teen party movie kind of. It was all over the place. There was a lot of weird plots about a kid that has a potassium deficiency, and if he doesn't have potassium, he goes into a coma. And that kind of happens in this movie. And then the wife overcomes her fear or disgust with Daddy Longlegs while calling the spider Daddy over and over again. They both of the mothers call the Daddy Longlegs Daddy a couple of times. And every time they said it, I was just more and more uncomfortable. Overall, it was kind of a rehash of the first one, but it didn't have any of the same charm, and it never even referenced the second movie whatsoever. This one seems more like a direct to Disney Channel, like a Disney Channel original movie, and less of a Walt Disney theatrical release. It was very small and very contained, and it just didn't have the charm and the magic that the first one had. And that's why I gave Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves 1.5 stars. One of my lowest rated reviews I've ever given. It's not a terrible movie. It's worth the watch if you're going to watch all of them. You're going to have to watch all three, but it's not going to capture the magic of the first one, and really not going to capture the magic of the second one. It's just bland. So, there you have it. Those are my reviews for the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movies. I'm really looking forward to Rick Moranis returning in the Disney Plus reboot. And I'm also glad that there are other really great casts that they're adding, like Josh Gad, the potential of bringing back the two original children, maybe Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson. Who knows? There's so many people talking in talks to join this cast. It's looking to be a really good time. So thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. And until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Peace. Did you think I shrunk? I didn't. I'm like really big. I'm like 6'8". It'd be like if I shrunk, like 6'8". If I shrunk down, I would be like, I'd still be like a army man tall, you know. Bye. About the How I Shrunk Your Parents. That's not the title. Hey kids, this is How I Shrunk Your Mother. They have to make it from the back of the backyard to the front of the front yard. Fuck me in the asshole. No one fucking cares about this. 1989, and it stars Rick. Fuck me in the asshole. I'm gonna shit myself.